So in today's edition of the Tactical Analysis walkthrough, we are looking at Pochettino and how he will set up his Chelsea side going into the new season. So, how do you think Pochettino will set up his Chelsea side going into the next season? Do you think it'd be different to how he set up as Tottenham boss?
So Pochettino looked to line up with a 4-2-3-1, just like his days at Tottenham, as you said. And he'll start with Kepa in goal, and I've gone for Kepa because it looks like he will be staying at Chelsea this season. But I have seen links with Diego Costa, who is a young keeper and a great shot stopper, which would be great for a Pochettino system. Keeper?
Yes,
it is.
Porto keeper, yeah.
Yeah, 23 years old, great goalkeeper, great shot stopper, but he's a great goalkeeper too. So I would see that working well. But I've gone for Kepa just because I think that's what they'll be lining up with this season. I've gone for the two centre-backs of Badiashile and Thiago Silva. Both have the attributes to play out from the back in a Poch system. Thiago Silva, obviously, especially, as we know, one of the best defenders in the world. And Badiashile, also a great young prospect, but you've also got the likes of Colwill, Fofana, who we'll discuss later. And then the key positions, Joel and James, they'll be very similar to Walker and Danny Rose of the 16-17 season.
Yeah.
But they will just be bombing up both flanks. The fullbacks are essential for this formation. And then, of course, you've got Enzo Fernandez in the midfield there, great midfielder. Top 5 players for progressive passes since joining, which is perfect for a system like this. And then you've also got Andre Santos next to him, who's a box-to-box midfielder, and he'll be the one making more attacking runs, which...
Despite playing in a 2, he'd still be moving forward more.
Yes, yeah, which doesn't really suit Enzo, but obviously we'll go into that later. But Enzo, I do think he's a player that I like, and he's great he's a great ball carrier, which does definitely suits his system. And then Nkunku in the second striker role, and he'll be very familiar with this role because he played this role at Leipzig occasionally. So I think he'll be perfect in that second striker role. Obviously, a lot of people think he might play up front, which again we'll go into later, but he could do. But I think the second striker role really does suit him with the attributes he possesses as a goal scorer. Madueke and Sterling on the wings. That's what Chelsea have seemed to go with last season, and I think Poch will stick with that. Sterling is very similar to Son. He has a very similar profile, pacey, can get behind, goal scoring winger, and I think a system like this would certainly suit him. I think we could see him back to his best, like his days at City.
He's still in his prime technically, isn't he? 27, 28, I think he is.
Yeah, he is, and I think this system suits his strengths. It really caters to his strengths, and I think we could see a much better Sterling this season. And then, of course, Jackson up front, signed him not long ago, actually, from doing this video. What I would be wary of is his medical record. He nearly got moved to Bournemouth in January, but that failed due to a medical back in January. So I'd be careful with that. But in terms of his attributes, he's great at the ball at his feet. He's improving in the air. He's able to play as a target man or as a mobile striker, similar to Harry Kane in 2016-17. And just like Kane, he's also a great goal poacher, proven by a successful end to his La Liga campaign, scoring 9 goals in his last 2 months of the season, picking up the May Player of the Month award. And also, he's a similar profile to Osimhen, who I know Chelsea fans would love to bring in. He's just earlier in his development. He's got the same characteristics, the same style as Osimhen, but he's just early in his development. Osimhen's a complete player. You know, he is the full package. Yeah. Jackson's still on the route to getting there.
Given Enzo Fernandez doesn't possess the necessary attributes to play as a holding midfielder in any team whatsoever, really, who do you reckon Pochettino will utilise in that position?
Yeah, Enzo Fernandez doesn't really have the attributes to play a CDM role, as I mentioned earlier. But this is where I think we could see someone like Caicedo or Latvia, who I've seen Chelsea been linked to. But Caicedo would be my personal favourite. And having him sitting behind him and covering instead of Santos here, I would like to see that, just because you'd have then Reece James bombing on forward, and the same with Chilwell too. He'd be bombing on forward, and this would really help the system flourish. I think the CDM is really needed for this system to work, because then that allows the fullbacks to have great joy in getting in those advanced.
So Caicedo wouldn't move forward very much. He'd often stay back.
Yes, yeah. Caicedo would
different to Kante, because Kante used to sometimes make runs forward. Or holding.
He is a similar profile to Kante. He possesses some attributes like him, but he would sit in and defend
a bit more.
A lot more. And examples of the fullbacks, by the way, of a key thing in the system is the likes of Hakimi and Mendes at PSG.
Yeah.
And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Walker and Danny Rose at Tottenham. So what would be perfect here is if you had Reece James bombing on forward, of course, Madueke, Jackson, all getting up there too. And then what you'd have is a really strong base four here with Enzo Fernandez picking up the ball and progressing with the ball.
Yeah.
He's perfect for this role. He's number 1 for progressive passes into the final third per 90. And he's a player that will fire the ball into the attackers here from Nkunku, Sterling, Jackson, Madueke, and even the two fullbacks to create opportunities. But signing Caicedo would be key for this to work. So then you have a really strong foundation.
With these two sit back here, Enzo and Caicedo.
Yes, yeah. If I move them up a bit, you've got a strong foundation of defence there, and it's something that you can definitely rely on whilst having these attackers obviously do their thing. And an example of this working would be the I don't want to keep comparing it to Tottenham because obviously Chelsea fans wouldn't be a fan of them, but Dembele and Wanyama and how they create chances for the front four of Dele Alli, Eriksen, Son and Kane. And if you saw that front four, you'd see how successful they were.
Yeah.
But for that to succeed, it was very key on Dembele and Wanyama filling in the defensive duties like these two are here.
Before we jump into the next question, guys, be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you are enjoying the content so far. Anyway, let's get back into the video. Along with bolstering the midfield, are we likely to see any additions in the attack this summer?
I would expect incomings on the attack too. Yeah, I would certainly expect a replacement for Madueke on the right hand side because you need more of an Eriksen type player there. Madueke is like a player who likes to get out wide and get to the touchline, which doesn't really suit a traditional Pochettino system. And this is where I think you could have the introduction of Lorenzo Pellegrini from Roma. He's a good signing in my opinion, and he's averaged 2.5 key passes per game last season as well. And before Dybala's arrival, Pellegrini had 3 straight seasons with at least 10 goal contributions, including his 2021-22 campaign, in which he had 9 goals and 5 assists as one of the top attacking midfielders in Europe. He has the ability to take people on, and is always a danger, and has a high work rate too, which is great for an energetic Chelsea side. And I think he could be a fantastic player that Poch could develop into one of the best creative attacking midfielders in the league. And having Pellegrini here, it would allow Reece James to bomb on forward and provide a threat out wide in the final third. And then Chilwell to also push forward with James, but at times sitting deeper a bit, allowing Sterling to just fill in out wide here.
So is Pellegrini more likely to sit back a little bit more than Sterling? Sterling's more likely to venture more forward? Will like Reece James provide the width on the right, whereas Sterling will provide the width on the left? Is that what you're trying to get at there?
Well, yeah. Sterling will certainly push out wide here when Chilwell stays back, but if Chilwell bombs on forward, of course you'll get Sterling in attacking here. Pellegrini, what he would do is he'd drop in the middle here and more look to just play passes.
He'd sit in the right half space?
Yes. He'd sit in the middle here. And he would obviously help create chances. And if you'd see Eriksen back in the 16-17 season, he did the exact same.
Given Pochettino's tactical flexibility, could we see him deploy any other formations as Chelsea manager?
I think one system that could be used is a 3-4-1-2 formation here, and this is where obviously Poch uses a back three, and this is where you could see the introduction of Levi Colwill, who's obviously performed well at Brighton. Obviously Fofana too, another defender, but you could also see Caicedo drop in there. Obviously Colwill would play midfield, but Caicedo could drop in there, similar to Eric Dyer back in 2016-17, where he'd sit between the two defenders. What this formation does is it's designed to basically play narrow and direct. Example of that was Tottenham's attack and even PSG's attack to an extent, but more Tottenham's attack of Dele Alli, Kane, Son and Eriksen, with Pellegrini feeding balls through to Jackson and Nkunku. Sterling could also fill in for either of these two, but I imagine Nkunku would play quite a lot. I think he's a player that I think Poch could certainly like. But this formation, most importantly, it really uses the wing backs, which, as I mentioned earlier, the fullbacks are obviously very key. What they do is they bomb on into the final third and exploit attacking areas up here. So this formation definitely could be used. Whether it will be, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's certainly one that could happen.
So when they're defending, do you think Chilwell and James will drop back and it become a back five? But when they're on the front foot and they're attacking, obviously they'll get the width, attack down the flanks, and you think then we'll go to a 3-4-1-2?
Yeah, when defending, obviously James and Chilwell will drop back to help defend. But in a Poch system, the main focus is attacking.
Yes.
And that is what this formation will be designed to do. I know Chelsea fans might not be a fan of back three, but this wouldn't be a much of a back three because James and Chilwell would be so high up the pitch that they'd be really utilised in these attacking areas, both around here. They'd be perfect in these attacking areas because of how good they are going forward. That's what this formation is designed to do, but of course when defending they will drop back and help out.
Okay.
I think another formation that could be used is a 4-1-2-1-2 diamond formation used towards the back end when he was at Tottenham. And I think this is where Caicedo would be used as a pivot, and then James would be utilised in midfield due to his abilities going forward.
Yeah.
With Gusto, new signing Gusto, which Chelsea fans would be pleased to see in this, he'll be filling in at right back, and that could be a great effect to use there. And Kunku, just like the three at the back, would be up front alongside Jackson. But again, Sterling could also fill in there. But what this formation does is the wingers also get wide and the strikers get wide. But again, the main outlet getting wide and getting up would be the fullbacks, which I know sounds a bit boring, but that is a really key part of Poch's system. And that's where you both see him bumming on forward out wide.
So that is how we think Pochettino will set up his Chelsea side going into next season. Comment your predictions down below. Do you think Chelsea will have a good season? Do you think they will have a bad season? And do you think Pochettino will keep his job? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.